Welcome back in Fireside Faithful.
What up, Fireside Faithful?
That's right. We haven't talked in a while. Not since, Gameweek 21, right?
Gameweek 21.
Pre-Gameweek 21. But we're back. A lot's happened in that time.
It was a weird few weeks of, midweek fixtures, kind of.
Absolutely. I mean...
Crazy game weeks.
Bournemouth, stake their claim as probably the most informed club in the EPL right now. They demolished Newcastle. We got our red light for Bournemouth Team of the Week.
Yeah, just so you know... still figuring out how to make this as straight as possible. I don't know who developed this, but kind of cool, kind of silly, because it gives you squiggly lines. Mm-hmm. But whatever team performed the best, we're going to shout out their colors through this light.
A little honorable mention.
Last week it was Man United with Diallo's hat trick and their comeback victory against all-powerful Southampton.
Yep.
And this week we're doing a shout out to Bournemouth.
Yeah, it was another hat trick.
Massive upset. Yeah, Kluivert.
But
shout out to them.
Yep. Spurs looks like they are dead and buried at this point. Solanke is now hurt, so they are struggling. And City, question mark.
Ding, ding, ding.
Are they back? 5 games, but they haven't really played the toughest competition. But they haven't lost, so give them credit where credit's due.
Their schedule's going to get crazy.
I know. Unfortunately, you probably already noticed, our lovely co-host Dave is feeling under the weather this week. He's got a virus.
Is it gonorrhea?
He wouldn't let me tell. So you can use your imagination. But
didn't he say something like gonorrhea?
Something like gonorrhea.
Wait, no.
No, it wasn't gonorrhea. I thought you were making a joke. No, it's I can't remember the name of it. It's a new virus going around, though, very contagious.
Damn, I'm sorry.
He didn't come today. We'll do our best to emulate his knowledge and good looks.
Good luck to us.
Good luck to us.
Because we're the good-looking and dumb ones, but he's the analytical brain. So,
Phil, with all of that out of the way, how are you doing today?
I'm a frustrated football fan.
It's okay.
We had some crazy Champion League games today.
I don't want to talk about it.
No. We're just going to say VARSA, yet again. Incredible game against Benfica, but per usual, the refs just like to give them a little push in the tush.
Little push in the tush.
Push in the tush.
I love
get them across the finish line. But no, crazy day of UCL. I think Liverpool, Atletico, and Barca are through to the top 8, or however the format works. Or Atletico needs to win one more game. But anyway,
Atletico can.
Yeah, we hate them.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it.
But I'm good. I'm good.
I love it. We're here.
It's an awesome episode. Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you. Again. Thank you. Always.
Sean, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm ready to get going though. We got a lot to talk about, man.
Do we?
I'm ready to get started.
I didn't prepare anything. Hopefully, it's not noticeable.
Good thing you're a genius at this. You can just get it going on the fly.
I'm just a biased piece of crap.
All right, so I'm going to cover Dave today. He's normally our transfer guy. I'm going to take that. Hopefully, I do him justice here. Dave, you can let me know. So, transfers in this week going into Game Week 23. Kluivert, Chris Wood, Alexander-Arnold, and Phil Foden in that order from most transferred in to least. So, Kluivert, I think no surprise here. I do think it's risky, but he had 2 good weeks, 8 points and then 22 points in that we talked about in that hat trick game against Newcastle. So, yeah, he looks really good, but their next 2 games are against Forest and Liverpool. 2 top defenses, 2 top teams. I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't put up points. So
it makes sense to wait until Game Week 20, 27 or 25.
I think people are reacting.
Wolves, but
I think it's a reactionary game. People are reacting. He has 9 shots in his last 5 game weeks. It's not that impressive.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. That's a risky one to me. I would not be picking him up. Next is Chris Wood. We've talked about him a lot. I've talked about him recently. He's probably a top 2 FPL forward right now. Again, he gets 1 shot, maybe 2 shots, and he gets a goal. And I think that was a big reason there were still people holding out. But he just did the same thing that he always does, and he did it against Liverpool. I think that probably signaled to a lot of people, hey, even against the best teams, 1 shot, 1 goal seems to work for him. So I'm seeing more and more people get on that train. Alexander-Arnold, you actually, Phil, you were talking about him.
Yeah.
Wanting to pick him up. He's still second in points on the season at 96 for defenders. He's only behind Aina from Forest. He's still a top-tier option, right? He's a scoring, he's an assist threat. every week. He's on the best team in the league. Liverpool has a very prime schedule their next 4. Ipswich, Bournemouth, Everton, Wolves.
Yeah.
Zero surprise he's on the list. He's just a tough one because of his price. You got to squeeze him in. You got to pay up for him.
Yeah, and he's bound to get returned. So if you have him and you squeeze in him, props to you because he's going to pop off. It's just so hard to drop someone, bring him in now.
Mm-hmm.
And what if he doesn't get that return for you? Then you're just wasting such a big chunk of cash on a defender. And we've talked about not being too high on those expensive defenders as of late. So I'm torn. I think we have a few more days to figure out what we want to do for our squad. But, again, if you do have him, he's absolutely incredible. Bringing him in is just a little tougher right now.
Yep, and then finally on that list is Foden. He is obviously on fire. He's in line with City, who look really good right now. Haven't lost in their last 5. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat. They tied a couple teams in there, but they haven't lost, right? He has had 19, 15, 8, and 6 points in his last 4 games. Most points of all midfielders in the last 5 weeks at 50. Number 2 is Salah at 37. So he's outpaced him by 13 points in that time. If he has another good week, he's going to jump to the top of the list, I think, no doubt. But we'll talk about it here in a little bit. City's upcoming schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a risky pick to think he's going to continue it. But you never know because you do know the talent that comes with a City lineup. So
yeah, let's touch on that a bit.
Touch on that in a little bit. All right, transfers out.
Get the hell out of here.
Get out of here. We got Saliba, Nicky J, who we talk about a lot here. We have Cole Palmer, and then we have Solanke. So in that order, most out to least out. So Saliba being the most out. Didn't play against Villa last week. He's a 75% chance to play this week. So honestly, I think this one was probably just a safety move for people. On top of that, the 3 weeks in a row before that injury, he only had 2 points each of those weeks. So for that price, he's definitely cooled off from earlier in the season. Plus the injury, those two things together, that makes sense to people moving off him. Nicholas Jackson. Now, we spoke about him multiple times in recent weeks. His minutes have been weird. He's rarely been hitting that 90-minute mark. He's putting up more 2s and 1s each week than not. So it's not great, but he has seen 2 straight weeks of 90 minutes, actually. So that's good to see. But
full circle.
But Chelsea has looked off. I think that's definitely hurting him. They don't, we said at the start of the season they were erratic. Then they kind of righted the ship. Now they're starting to look a little erratic. I think that's affecting him. I know that's your boy. Any comments on him getting traded out this much? Because I know we said we still believe in him because of his opportunities.
I think it's we can talk about that. Did I just turn this off? No, I didn't. We can talk about that in another episode, just kind of comparing the thought process behind Nicholas Jackson and someone like Wood. It's so hard to go against Nicholas Jackson because you watch the game and he's just getting infinite amount of touches and chances, but he keeps missing them. Wood doesn't, but he scores them. So Wood is obviously, you're well off with Wood where you're struggling with Jackson, but how do you approach that?
Opportunities versus points, right?
It makes no sense.
When you see something and it doesn't make sense to you.
It just, I don't even know. I don't think you can go wrong with either because at this point it's so ridiculous the 2 extremes both of them are on. You honestly can't go wrong with either. Probably you're a little crazier if you don't go with Wood because he keeps just consistently producing.
Because he's amazing.
But you also have to listen to the stats.
Got to ride that Wood train, baby.
So I think that's kind of a game of luck, but I understand why people are moving off of him. He's been a frustrating asset.
You want to stop touching your mic, man?
No.
Jeez,
I like grabbing
it. Gonna give the people all the little noise.
It feels like. No one's ever commented about this noise. You.
All right.
Dumpster.
Next. Palmer sticking on the Chelsea train.
I don't understand that one.
Okay, we're on the same page, and this one surprises me.
Injury
I
potentially.
Assume. So my assumption here is just an assumption. It's part of the erratic play that they've been showing, and he's a high price tag. Maybe people are trying to find space for the Kluiverts, for the Woods, for the Fodens, but the reason it confuses us is he has 34 points in his last 5 game weeks. That's not amazing, but that's 6th amongst all midfielders. That's not too bad. Schedule isn't awful, but maybe that price tag with only 34 is kind of putting people off. That's my only thought.
The only other thing I can think of, too, is with Reece James back. I know I don't know if he's been on the transfers
Nope.
ins. I didn't really get a chance to check, but Palmer's lost some set pieces. So
Yeah.
I don't know if people are thinking that too. I don't know. It seems kind of crazy to get rid of him right now, but
I wanted to look for you really quick. I don't think Reece James is on that list. So, yeah, again, I mean, maybe he's way down the list. He's not anywhere close to the top. So, yeah, it is a little confusing. But, maybe some people know something that we don't know. Fair play to you. But, yeah, we'll go on to the last one, which is Solanke. Zero surprise here. He sustained a knee injury. He's going to be out until mid-February. But honestly, this might be a blessing in disguise for a lot of FPL managers if you were still holding on to him. Tottenham look really bad right now. They haven't won since week 16. Solanke's had a couple, 2-3 games in that run that have been pretty good, but those are outweighed by the 2s and the 0s that have come with it. So, this just makes a lot of sense for the people who still had him.
is it time for Son to shine?
Might be. He had a goal, I think, in his last game, so maybe he's
Yep.
back. His price tag is so high that he's really going to have to be back for people to want to get him. But, yeah, I mean, here's his opportunity. Let's see if he can do something. They might be looking back at Evan Nielsen, I read, as well. I think I read, the door may now be open for them to go get, because they don't have a striker, right?
Oh, they're going to go get it.
They might go, they had to go find someone now. And, I read just one speculative article. Maybe it's Evan Nielsen.
Oh, you know how to read. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I know how to read. I'm pretty fancy, man.
I don't.
All right, so that's the transfers.
Well done, Dave. Good job.
A little
Good job,
different from
buddy.
the way Dave does it. Hope that was okay, everybody. He'll be back next week, hopefully. So you'll get him back. You'll get your transfer section back.
Mhm.
But I think we did pretty well, though.
Yeah, good shit. Ooh,
Absolutely.
Good job.
All right. It's okay. That's okay. Everyone's an adult.
Everyone's
here,
already
so.
used to my couple swears.
All right.
So.
So first topic, man. I wanted to cover City. Right. We said we were going to come back and talk about them a little bit. So I'm going to tee you up here, and I want to get your opinion. So Phil Foden, interesting guy right now.
Wrong sport.
That's okay. We just talked about him. He's got 50 points in his last 5 game weeks, highest amongst any player. I think I said mid, but that's any player actually.
Absolutely.
In the last 5 weeks, in that time, expected involvement of 3.95, pretty high. 5 goals on 12 shots. 6 of those shots were on target. 2 assists from 15 attempted assists, which is very high. So he's on fire right now. Immense talent. I think we all know that. But my issue with this is twofold, right? Is City really back? Or is it just an easy schedule so far? Good news is in the next 7 games, we're going to find out because they are about to go through a freaking gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
They got Chelsea home, Arsenal away, Newcastle home, Liverpool home, Tottenham away, Forest away, Forest away, Brentford home. That is a ridiculous next 7 games. But I understand why people may want to start loading up on City guys early with the hope that maybe they're back to being City. I'm going to be waiting a few weeks to do that. I do think once week 28 starts, you're going to want to have a plan in place to pick up guys like Foden, Savio, De Bruyne, or even Haaland if you can fit them in. I just think at the moment, this City run has been good, but I'm not quite convinced on them being back and ready to go in this. So, Phil, all that being said,
That was a pretty long tee up, Sean.
that was a long tee up, but all that being
Just
said,
kidding.
are you a buyer or are you still a seller right now on this team? And specifically Phil Foden, he's in the best form.
So Foden, let's not forget, he was EPL Player of the Year last year. You covered it, absolute stud. So no surprise that he's popping off now that the team feels like they figured it out a bit. We've talked about it earlier in the year. Do matchups really matter when you talk about a team with the caliber of City? Maybe for defenders and goalies, yeah, because the chances of them getting a clean sheet against Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle is slim, especially with their defensive woes. Ipswich actually could have scored a couple goals against them out of nothing. So, but for the offensive assets, does it really matter who City plays if they're playing like they know how to play? The answer to that's probably no. You would take them in any of these games. I mean, Chelsea hasn't been great defensively, so I wouldn't worry about that. Newcastle, wouldn't worry about that. Liverpool, that's always a banger of a game. Tottenham,
Tottenham's not a bad defense, though.
They're not a bad.
They can do it though.
Yeah,
I guess is my point. Like they can turn it on, turn it off. It just depends on the team you get that.
Yeah.
week.
So the only team I'm worried about like Foden, Haaland, De Bruyne, whoever you go with, Sevilla, who didn't play, so who knows what's going on with him, is Arsenal, right? But if 1 out of 5-6 games, Arsenal and Forest.
Not Liverpool?
I think those games are always bangers. I wouldn't.
All right, yeah.
I would trust.
You said that.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So if I would go. I would be high on Foden. I would Haaland hit or miss still, but Foden definitely.
So would you buy him? Are we talking like you are willing to buy one of these guys?
Yes.
Right now. Okay, we're on different wavelengths on that one.
Just out of fixtures, I'm not worried about a fixture for a player like Foden.
So you think City's
back?
You're kind of thinking they're back to where...
I think you can see it on their faces. You can see it in their pace. You can see it in their pressure.
All right.
They look like a team again, and when they look like a team, it doesn't matter who's in front of them.
I'm not sold, but I respect that take. I actually have a funny story. So I was sitting... My wife's parents were at my house this week, and... You know, obviously it was a weekend, so I was watching the games. And I had on the City game, and my wife's mom was like, "Is that guy okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, he's good." She's like, "He kind of looks like he's really, really mad." And I was like, "No, I think he's okay." It was Pep. They showed him sitting on the bench. This man looked like he didn't have a friend in the world. And I was like, "No, he's just used to being the best, and he's not right now. I think it's really annoying him." So I thought that was funny. She saw it immediately, like, this guy looks upset.
Yeah.
And they were winning like 5-0 at the time. So
it's made his teams great. He's such a perfectionist, and his mind goes at 1,000% when they're the best in the world. So imagine how fast it's going and everything that's going through.
You win a game 6-0 and you just don't look happy about it, right? Because he's probably seeing those tiny little things like, yeah, good stuff. We're beating Ipswich. You messed up that play. It should be better, right? So he's, like you said, perfectionist. But I thought that was hilarious.
That's funny. It's funny that your mom or your mother-in-law noticed
she just peeked TV. Is that guy okay? I'm like, yeah, he's fine.
But yeah, I wouldn't worry about City. Offensively, that's my opinion. Now I could be proven wrong, and that's why we'll snap that, put it on the short, so everyone can laugh at me. But
or we snap me and put it on a short, and I'll be proven right that you should have waited.
We just blame Dave.
Yeah, Dave can't be part of it. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah, that's City for you.
Yeah, that's City for you.
Bang, bang.
We're on different wavelengths, but we'll see what happens.
Give me a header.
I have a hat on.
Take it off.
I'm gonna break something.
You can do it.
Nice. That ball's flat. That ball's very flat.
That is skill right there.
Yeah, see, if you didn't
skill right there.
Listen, if you didn't think we played this game, the highest level, high school, D3 college, the highest level of play. Mm-hmm. So you watch yourself when you're talking about us, okay? All right,
we know our age.
All right, over to you. I know you wanted to talk about. You wanted to talk about.
Did I?
Cunha, I believe.
Cunha? No, I don't want to talk
Mateta?
about Cunha.
Cunha, Mateta, one of those two.
Cunha, Mateta.
I was just getting that
What
going.
a wonderful life.
I just kind of caught on to that as I was saying it.
Cunha, Mateta.
But go ahead. You definitely want to talk about something, so let me hear it.
Do I really want to? I'll just touch on it.
Touch on it.
Cunha.
Mm-hmm.
Watching him with Wolves, who we know are a struggling team.
Yes.
Cunha is one of the most impressive players I've seen this year.
Big bright spot on that team.
It's incredible how much he creates out of nothing. So just as a player, he's absolutely beautiful to watch. Amazing. Obviously, there's this alternate reality where he goes to Arsenal and then he might become the greatest player in the history.
Whispers of an Arsenal trade.
In case no one knew, he came from Atletico Madrid, who we hate. But we love him on Wolves, and it would be fun to see him on Arsenal. But honestly, I don't think he's that great of an asset anymore. I think for a similar price point, you can get other guys. His expected goals were never that high. He just, scored a lot more than he created. So kind of a Wood situation, but he's died down where Wood's kept it up. So in terms of goals, can't really put your money on him for that. He does create a lot of chances, so he does have, I think he's first in expected assists over
he is.
The
he's
latest
at,
stretch.
6.1 on the season. He's at
on the
6.13 expected assists.
So
he's actually top of the table there.
He creates a lot. He's a creative player, but I just don't think right now he's a player on this Wolves team that you can trust to produce every single week. I'm pretty sure they have let me just check myself. Yeah, for Wolves, they have a really tough stretch. They have Arsenal at home. They have Villa at home. They have Liverpool away, Bournemouth away. So I just don't think over the next 4 weeks he's going to produce that much for you. But that doesn't take anything away from him as a player.
Yeah, I think at the end of the season, it's when you start to look at it from a, do you want a guy for that end of the season point total? Yeah. Do you want a guy for this stretch of play to have good weeks, right? Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the season, he's going to be top 10 as a forward. Now, forwards have been kind of down this year, so top 10 is not that impressive, but I definitely think he's going to probably be top 10, maybe top 5. Right now, he's 4th at 114 points. That's fairly far behind the next guy up, which is Haaland at 131. But like you said, with a team like Wolves, I do think you're going to start seeing Ollie Watkins, Wissa, these guys are going to start catching up and potentially passing him. So yeah, I've never been a big Cunha believer. I know Dave is. He's not here to defend himself. But I'm not a big believer in him, and I think that's mostly due to Wolves, like you said. Yeah. I don't like that team. I don't want to watch that team. I'll be honest.
Granted, if you still are interested in him, just wait until game week 27. Then they have Fulham, Everton, Southampton, West Ham. I think Ipswich is in there. So now's not the time to get him. Maybe in the future, but I don't think he's that top priority guy you should go after. On the flip side, the pairing of Cunha Mateta, Mr. Jean-Philippe Mateta, he's defied all expectations, and he's been on absolute fire. 4 goals in the last 3 games. He's on PKs. Crystal Palace has looked like a top 6 team in the EPL. Clean sheets.
Good on them.
Attacking expected goals. They've just been on fire. So obviously we've talked about Crystal Palace, a few of their defensive assets. They've gone I think a couple clean sheets now. But Mateta and Eze, but especially Mateta have been on fire. I think for 7.2 or is it 7.4? He is at 7.3, so right in the middle. But when you're looking at that Gakpo right now with Liverpool's upcoming schedule, Mateta, even Wood 7.1, or if you had Solanke at 7.5, Mateta might be a very interesting option to look at and pick up. Sean, you probably have the fixtures there if you want to go through who they're facing. He's an interesting guy to add to your squad.
He's looked good. He's had 8 points, and then 13 this most recent week against West Ham. So he's definitely been on a good run of play. He doesn't always get 90 minutes. Generally he does. But there are some games where he doesn't, which I don't know, is kind of odd to me. But yeah, that schedule coming up. Crystal Palace, probably right now you would put them at the top in terms of easiest schedule going forward. They get Brentford home. And remember, when we're talking about these schedules, just because Brentford's good at offense, we're talking he's attacking, right? So this is defensively. Yeah. These teams are not very strong. So Brentford home, Man U away, Everton home, Fulham away, Aston Villa home, Ipswich home. Yeah. Not the easiest schedule ever, but that is not a difficult schedule. There's no big dogs in there really. So
United
is not a big dog, unfortunately. So yeah, I think with that schedule coming up, with his run of play right now, we love Crystal Palace, like you said, especially the defenders. It's just a hot team right now. They haven't lost a game in their last 5. I think they have 3 wins and 2 draws.
Yeah,
I want some of that. And before that, actually, let me bring that up because I think they have 1 loss. Okay, yeah, they have 1 loss against Arsenal, bad loss. Take that out of the mix. They haven't lost in 10. So they've drawn or won in 10 of the last 11.
Damn.
So kind of going under the radar.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth is on freaking fire. But yeah, no, I like that. I like Mateta and Gakpo, throw him in there too.
I think the only option if you're trying to get someone right now is you don't have 3 Liverpool guys is with a doubleheader. Do go Gakpo for just 1 million more.
Yep.
Someone else that is extremely interesting, and I think at some point we need to talk about him is Wissa. Because Wissa at 6.2, he's projected more points than all these guys that are in the 7 and 8 millions and then the double-digit cost. So Wissa's an extremely interesting guy to consider too at a cheaper price point.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of getting back into form. It just stinks that Brentford is not as good as I think we first thought they were. So they are struggling at times, but he's definitely a good asset, I think, at the price point. Right?
Crystal Palace, Tottenham, West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Aston Villa. That's not a bad stretch of games for
part of it is also part of it's also forwards, like we said, they're kind of hard to come by right now. Yeah. There's about 2, and if Haaland is getting back to form, 3, but that price tag always kind of makes him tough. So really, Isak and Wood are 2 kind of stalwarts that you can hold on
Yeah.
to, but everyone else, it's like, who do I want this week?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So I think
an option.
out of all those names we threw out, we're probably saying yes to Wissa, Gakpo, Mateta, and probably no to someone like Cunha.
Yep, I would agree with that. All right, so I wanted to talk about... Where did it
What
go?
you want to talk about, baby?
Oh, Newcastle. I want to talk Newcastle.
They screwed us this week.
They did screw us. So yeah, let me preface with our Fireside squad. We have a triple set of Newcastle players, right? We have the typical three. We have Hall, we have Gordon, we have
flash our
Isak.
team here for you real quick. Luis, cue this. I'll tell you.
We got so we have those three players in our squad. They've been doing really well the last couple weeks. This week, not so much, right? So I want to know, Phil, I'm going to set this up and then I'm going to ask your opinion, but I want to know what are you doing if you're someone who has to stack, right? So for the last few weeks, right, like I said, FPL strategy for a lot of people has been get all three of these Newcastle guys. This team has been on fire. They've all been producing. If you had any of them and if you had all of them, you were definitely doing well. Yeah. But Newcastle just ran into the other hottest team in the EPL, who dismantled them, essentially.
Yeah.
They goes, 4-1 final score.
4-1.
Wasn't a good game for Newcastle. They did not look like the same team.
Could have been more.
It could have been more. They just didn't look like the same team we've seen for the last, 5-ish, 6-ish weeks, right? FPL, super reactionary game. We already said that. I feel like we say it every week. And the question becomes, you're going into a matchup with a really bad Southampton team this week for Newcastle. Do you keep that 3-stack or do you move off it? If you do move off it, which player are you moving off in that 3 and who are you going to go get? So let me, before I keep going, let me ask you that question. Let's get something clear together, right? Yeah. I think we both agree, I'm assuming, you're not moving off an Isak. He's the one guy of those 3. You're not moving off him. Southampton, he's probably the best captain option this week too. I think he's going to be probably the most picked for captain against 100%. Southampton. Yeah. 100%. So let's just eliminate that. If you have those 3.
That's what the data tells you to do.
That's what the data tells you.
That's what the data tells you.
So yeah, you're not moving off Isak, so let's just focus our attention on Gordon and Hall. Yeah. Right? So, Hall, he's a second amongst defenders in points last 5 game weeks. He only trails Alexander-Arnold. We talked about him. We love him. And he only trails Alexander-Arnold in attempted assists and shots as well amongst the top 10 defenders. So he's really good. His biggest value comes from corners and free kicks. But
he's darn good at them.
He is. But he splits those corners with Gordon. So, throw that out there. That's Gordon does take some of those corners. But, I looked this up. Newcastle only has 1 goal on corners this year and 3 goals on free kicks and throw-ins. Now, I couldn't find the breakdown of which of those goals were free kicks and throw-ins, but let's assume it's all of them. They only have 4 goals on free kicks and corners throughout the season, right? It's not that many. So I don't know how big of a asset is him taking corners. It definitely is, but when you see the team not scoring a lot, like an Arsenal, how much weight do you put in it?
I think what they do sometimes is short corners, so that's not going to count as a corner, but he plays it out short, gets it back, and then he whips in the cross from a better angle.
And that's
not going to count as a corner.
But that counts as an assist, and I'm not taking that away from him. We know those numbers are fantastic. So
fair.
Gordon, on the other hand, 7th most amongst midfielders in the last 5 games, same time period. He has 34 points, 16 shots, 9 attempted assists, 3 goals, and 1 assist. Those are solid numbers, and points-wise, he's only behind Haaland, who is, he's behind a bunch of guys, right? I think he's behind 4 to 5 guys, but the point is, they all have 34 points.
Yeah.
If you put them all there, they're all in technically 3rd place, right? And then Salah's the next guy. He has, I think it was 36
Did you say
points.
36 or 37?
Pretty sure Salah has 36. So, for all intents and
50,
purposes, let's assume he's 3rd, right, with all these other mids in that position. So for me, this one comes down to money. I think replacing a guy like Hall at 4.9 million is a little tougher than replacing a guy like Gordon at 7.5 million. Now, it's 7.5 million. You can get Ilanga, Eze, possibly Mbumo if you have about 0.2 left in your bank, Savinho, Ahmad, Kluivert, which apparently everyone loves this week. Now, do I think all those guys are going to be better than Gordon over the next few weeks? Yes to some. Maybe yes, maybe no, right? Some yes, some no. But it's going to be very close. And like I said, I think some of those guys are going to be better. But when you look at Hall, right, you can get a guy like, and I forget how to pronounce this name. Can you do it for me? Guehi. You can get Guehi if you believe in Guehi. If you believe in Crystal Palace, who we just talked about with that really good schedule. It wasn't that bad. If you're watching, I apologize.
Funny thing would be if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
You might be. We did Mbumo and Buemo for about 4 weeks till we figured that one out.
That's his fault for having kind of a weird name.
So after him, you have the likes of a Kirkes, a Lacroix, a Chaluba, Munoz. I may have mispronounced all those names, but it is what it is. You guys know who I'm talking about. Everyone relax.
I love it.
But, Newcastle's schedule the next few weeks opens the door for shutouts. Unlike some of these other replacements, right? Crystal Palace, yes. Those other guys, not really, right? You're banking on shutouts with those names. And I think Newcastle has a better chance of that. So, now that I've talked for about 25 minutes,
I'm going to give you
your chance. I'm going to give you your chance. But for me, there's no wrong answer. I think both will be good, but I prefer Hall in the situation because of the lack of replacements and the shutout opportunities that you get provided with him. So obviously, defenders get more shutout points than midfielders do.
Absolutely.
So go. Who would you prefer in that after I talk for so long? But Gordon, Hall, who are you thinking?
Yeah. So I think I'm with you that if we look at the rest of the year too, where you're keeping Hall, bearing any injury, if expected minutes go down or whatever, if he stays in the same kind of trend, you keep Hall, you keep Isak. You probably bench Hall for that stretch of City, Forest, and Liverpool during, 25 through 27. But beyond that, you play him, you play Isak, and you potentially move off of Gordon. Now, bringing it back to the initial question of this upcoming week, I find it really hard to move off of any of those guys against Southampton away. Even going into the next week, it's Fulham at home. I think these are 2 weeks where the three can really get returns for you, and then you have that stretch of the difficult games where you might need to rotate a guy out or you let go of Gordon. Now, the only thing that makes me think that or think of doing something else is the upcoming doubleheader game week with Liverpool. If you're trying to fit in an asset and you don't have money and maybe you have to move from someone like Gordon to Rodgers.
Yeah.
And Rodgers has a pretty good schedule coming up with West Ham, Wolves, and Ipswich. So those 3 weeks are massive for someone like Rodgers. So you get the extra funds to then upgrade maybe one of your budget forwards with a Gakpo.
Yeah.
Or a defender. You get rid of Gordon and you bring in a defender like Trent if you want to upgrade him for that doubleheader weekend. So really the only thing that makes me want to move off of potentially one of our assets for the next 2 weeks is that doubleheader with Liverpool. If you're not worried about that, or you already have 3 Liverpool assets, you probably don't have 3 Newcastle assets, then honestly, I think for the next 2 games, having 3 is no problem at all.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I'm just not a big 3-stack fan, but I fully agree with you that Southampton coming up, that is, if you ever have a reason to do it,
Fulham at home.
That's probably your reason.
After. Our dumbasses have 2 3 stacks, so we're really...
Okay. We're figuring it out.
Yeah,
We're figuring it out.
Helped us last week.
All right, so
there we go.
That is that, and
there we go.
Good news for everyone out there.
49-18.
We have a new section, which is being brought to you by our one of our good friends, Luke Collier. He actually came up with this idea. It was a great idea. It's already
question.
It's already paying benefits for us.
Is it?
Luke's a big EPL fan. He's a big Tottenham fan. Sorry, I just smack talked him this entire time, Luke. My bad.
Shout out Collier.
But point of the section is we're going to try and do this anytime we have questions. We put out on our socials, hey, episode's coming up. If you have any questions you want us to answer on the episode, let us know. Well, we have 3 questions to answer today.
Whew.
So let's do it, Phil. Let's get to it. First question actually coming from Luke is, what defender should I replace Pedro Porro with? You want to start us off?
Yeah, we need to keep these quick, right? We
We
be
don't want to
concise.
take too long. Just give him. He wants an answer. Let's get it to
Well,
him.
Luke, if you still have Pedro Porro, you're probably a Tottenham fan, and I'm sorry about that. So
Yes.
that's my first comment to it. The real answer is I probably wouldn't trust anyone on Tottenham, even though Pedro Porro is that guy that consistently feels like you're going to get an attacking return from him. He has improved over the year, but he's still on Tottenham. He's probably not going to get clean sheets. He hasn't produced his expected FPL points. Again, he's always there with a chance of it, but I just don't trust the Tottenham asset right now. I'm sorry. We just talked about a lot of different defenders. I mean, you can go Hall, you can go Kirkes, you can go Munoz, Oguehi. You have a lot of those budget defenders if you want to save some money because, again, Pedro Porro is, I think, 5.4, 5.5, and these guys are under 5. So you're gonna get some money back from him, honestly.
And a better defender, to be frank.
Yeah, and a better defender with chances of clean sheets, and they've been getting attacking returns. Kirkes has been freaking unbelievable. But looking at this doubleheader game week, Konate might be the perfect answer for that because you're saving some money.
Yep.
$5 million.
Yep.
Again, he has that incredible stretch of fixtures on the doubleheader, so Konate will be my answer. If
Konate.
you already have him, go for the other budget guys.
Definitely agree on Konate. The one thing to not do is go and sell him. And then if you have extra money that was already in your bank, don't go sell him and try and get like someone more expensive, like a Gabriel. It's just not worth the money. Like Phil said, there are so many budget options. If you don't want to get Konate, you got Munoz, right? Gahey. They got great schedules for Crystal Palace. They've been on a good run. Like you said, Robinson. A bunch of good options. Hall. A bunch of good options that are cheaper. No need to go spend up. Save that money. But yeah.
Bye, Pedrito.
Bye, Pedrito. Hello, Konate.
All right.
Okay.
Next question.
Next question comes from FPL Rizwan79.
Ooh, Mr. Riz. He got the Riz.
All right, let's see what he asks us. So, would you do Pickford in for Raya before Game Week 23 deadline or wait?
Ew.
So that's a tough question. So, it's hard to read the context. There's two ways to look at this, right? You could be saying that you have both goalies on your team. Who should I play going into Game Week 23? Let's take that approach first. So I think for me, it's definitely going to be Raya. The reason for that is I understand Everton has had a decent run of shutouts, but not the last 2 game weeks. I don't believe they've had a shutout, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there. Do you have that?
I did. I mean, they had a good stretch, but they haven't.
They had a good stretch. I think Pickford, obviously he was down for a very long time, and then they had that stretch. He's been back on people's radar. So let's see. In the last 2 game weeks, they have not had a shutout. He's had 1 point and then 2 points. So for me, it's going to come down to I think both have a good game ahead. I think Pickford gets Brighton, and then Raya gets.
Arsenal gets Wolves,
Wolves, right?
Before City. Yeah,
so I think both points here, right? I think you're trusting Arsenal more for a shutout just in general, and I think Wolves is a worse team than Brighton. So if I'm picking between those two on my roster, I'm playing Raya. That's just no question for me there. I'm going with Raya. Now, if the question is, are you selling one of them for somebody else before Game Week 23 in order to get somebody for the next few weeks, who are you going with? Any opinion there?
I mean, I think you go. Are we talking about between these two guys?
So between these two guys,
okay.
If you're planning, let's say 3 weeks out, you only are going to keep one on your team. Who are you keeping?
I think for 3 weeks out, I'm ignoring the doubleheader because I don't think he's going to get much against Liverpool. So I'm counting that as just one game. I think you go Arsenal because in the long run, there's probably a bigger chance. But truthful answer, neither of them. Bring in someone else.
I think
Allison, for example.
Yeah. So
Cells.
So I think to answer your question on that, even if you're planning farther out, I think it's still got to be Raya. I ride with Arsenal. I think Everton's probably falling back off from where they were, but at the end of the day, I don't love either of them. For me, I mean, I'm looking at a guy like Sells, who's been good all season long. I'm looking at a guy like Henderson with Crystal Palace's schedule and their defense playing well. Like, those are the guys I'm looking at if you're looking outside of them. So
Yeah.
that's our answer on that one. You guys will have to let us know if we helped you out there. We'll try and do better every week, I guess, as we answer these questions. One more question.
And I didn't mean to downplay your question because I've had Raya for the longest time.
Yeah.
He's just been so disappointing, giving up 1 goal on 2 shots. So he never gets the bonus points for saves. He's never in the bonus point system. So
yeah, I don't think it's downplaying. I think he asked a good question.
It's a great question.
I think he asked a great question.
Yeah.
I think we answered it, and then we gave an extra option. If you're looking to get someone
thanks
else.
for explaining why I didn't try to sound like an asshole. Good job, Sean.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and one last question.
Scored a brace today, by the way. That's why I'm wearing this.
One
I
last.
watched it.
Let me get to this question. Considering
From who?
Considering you're a clown.
From who? Who's the question from?
looking at the questions, apparently we have one more question from our very own Phil Charnley. That's great. Love that.
What's the question?
God. The question is... Oh, you're so bad, man. The question is Dave still in third in your mini league, and why? Dave, you want to take that one? No? Nothing from Dave?
Guess he just sucks.
Nothing from Dave? All right, we'll answer for him. So to answer your question, yes, he is still in third. He's not very good at FPL, we don't think. And why? Well, because he refuses to pick up a guy like Salah because he has too much pride in himself, and he thinks he can beat us without him, and he just can't. So
it ain't happening.
There's your answer, Phil. Yeah. Is that a good answer for you?
I think that was fantastic, and I'm glad Dave didn't have anything to say about it. Because what's he going to say about it?
Nothing. All right. Well, that was fun. I like that section.
That was fun.
Please, if you're out there, throw some more questions at us. That was fun.
Like the video. Go to Instagram, go to Twitter, ask us questions. Sometimes we might get it right, sometimes we might get it wrong, but we're going to have a fun time doing it.
Well, and at the end of the day, right or wrong, the least we're going to do is do our research, and we're going to give you the answer that we feel is best based on the numbers, right? Yeah. That's what we're going to do for you.
We might be biased sometimes, too.
So, back here, same time, same place. Next week, hopefully Dave is feeling better. He can get back with us. Like Phil said, follow us on our socials. And you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. Yes, like, subscribe, comment on the video. Actually, if you want to, comment on what we should do on that Newcastle situation, because clearly we didn't agree.
We need help.
Let us know what your thoughts on the stack going into the Southampton game. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment. Really helps us out. It's free. And with that,
cheers.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.